Welcome to See Worldwide and a brief view of 2023 here halfway through. We enter this year with a lot of geopolitical unrest, war in Ukraine, strained relations between the US and China, and we also saw high inflation and the central banks trying to fight it. And a new big theme is on the scene, AI, and it's very interesting to talk about what impact that will have in the future. Welcome to you, Bo Knudsen, CEO here at See Worldwide. How do you see 2023?
Well, geopolitics have taken center stage again here in 23, and the human disasters has been a sad part of that. When it comes to the agenda that we're going to talk about today, geopolitics are fundamentally counterproductive when it comes to markets. Too much competition versus collaboration, too much ideology instead of growth is not conducive for development and powering ahead. So there's been a lot of focus on China in particular, and China prioritizes security and control, but I would still believe that the growth agenda is alive and kicking.
Yeah, but many experts said in the beginning of the year that after COVID, China would be an explosion of growth and consumers spending a lot of money, but nothing seems to happen. Why?
The population are looking at the leadership. They're looking at the direction. Where is China going to move? One, and two, they are looking at their house and their home and their development in house prices. So 70% of Chinese wealth is tied up in the housing market. And we've seen a weakening housing market that affects sentiment, the drive to consume, that affects the consumer sentiment negatively. So that would be my two key reasons and answers to your question.
And the question would then be, would it be interesting for investors to invest in China, or should they find some other places?
You always want to focus on how minority shareholders are going to be treated going forward. And so that is a key factor that you have to and you want to look at across the globe, inclusive of China.
But that's not a very specific answer. Do you think you should go to China?
No, I definitely think that there's still great growth opportunities. Just a simple fact, 600 million Chinese have never been on an airplane. The entrepreneurial spirit is legendary when it comes to the Chinese people. So I think there are still growth opportunities. As always, be selective.
And high inflation and the central banks trying to fight it with interest rates hikes again and again. Is that a big problem for the stock market, or what?
It's always a big problem for the stock market if the monetary environment is tightening. That's clear, and we've seen the US central bank in particular hiking at record speed, hiking interest rates, short-term interest rates 10 times. So yes, that is a headwind.
But if will that lead to a recession? Many talks about recession, but we haven't seen anything yet. The stock market is up 10%.
Yeah. The stock market is always impatient, and yes, all of the talk about recession, eventually we will get a recession after an interest hike cycle like the one we've had. Is it the end of the world? No, the world doesn't end with the recession. It is a new beginning as well, to some extent. So I think it's very important to just take the long-term view and understand that recession is also part of a cycle. I think it's likely there are some lags built in from the yield curve inverting, and takes 12, 18, 20 months before the recession actually kicks in. But it's not necessarily something that the market is willing to wait for.
So we will see problems for the companies and we will see unemployment in the near future.
Problems and challenges is part of life. Also in the life of an investor, I think you will see earnings growth will obviously be affected by a weaker economic environment. We think there are some companies that are gonna withstand that have such a powerful position that they are capable of holding on to, and possibly also increase pricing and keep their volumes at pace, at growing pace. So all of our focus is understanding those particular stocks and companies.
And the big theme here in 2023 is AI. How do you see AI?
I see AI as a trigger of innovation. I see AI as the opportunity for you and I to become programmers. I see AI as a tool where we can look smarter and become more productive. So I see AI as a big opportunity, and because who doesn't want to be more productive? Who doesn't want to look smarter? So we can drive that development ourselves by taking on the new tools that companies are going to give us. This is both for us as an investor, but also as human beings, to take up those new tools that are going to be announced and promoted to the market in the coming quarters and years.
How fast will AI make a change in this world, do you think?
I think it's going to be evolutionary more than revolutionary. I think it's going to be a bit like the iPhone moment in 2007. We all noticed, wow, this is interesting. This gives me easy access to the internet. It has developed into a portal to life. So let's see. I'm a big believer in evolution and in evolutionary developments. Some talk about an AI revolution, but this is going to be with us for such a long period of time, with the help of some of the biggest companies in the world. Without them, without the cloud, without compute power at the scale of, for example, Microsoft and some of the other bigger companies, we won't see AI developing. So there are a lot of things that we take for granted, that will not happen without the TSMCs, without the ASMLs of this world. I think that's important to have in mind. Yes, I am optimistic about AI because it fundamentally has the opportunity to make life easier for us. And nothing like making life easier is conducive, and there's nothing we like more as human beings to make that, than making lives easier.
We agreed on earlier that there's a lot of problems in this world. Do you think there's a reason to be optimistic in the near future when we talk about stock markets?
There's always a reason to be optimistic. Stock markets, it's the triumph of the optimist. But it's not the stock market, it's not all stocks in the stock market that goes up, even if you measure on an average, and there are a few companies that are pulling the average. 1. 2, if you go back in human history, let's take a look at the 60s, where you had ideological battles at the highest level, and you saw periods of very strong stock market performance. So yes, I'm optimistic.
Thank you both for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Christian.
You can see a lot of these themes and issues on our homepage. It's cworldwide.com. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.